In the United States, why do we allow 18-year-olds to be considered an adult to enlist in the military, go off and fight a war, serve on a jury, and elect our public officials? Yet, we refuse the right to consume alcohol, purchase a simple beer. I believe in the United States that we should lower the drinking age to 18 because by definition at 18 is considered an adult, and if you commit a crime, you will be charged as such, and you can sign a legally binding contract, you can open up credit cards, yet you can't go to the bar and purchase a drink until you're 21. In the United States, our drinking age is 21. Across the globe, there's over 100 countries that have a drinking age of between 18 and 19. Of those 100 countries, the violence is on average 11% lower compared to ours, and that's considering the drinking age is lower. So the adults that are under 21 in those countries have been exposed to alcohol. They know the responsibility at a younger age, and when they were considered an adult as well. And in a survey published in 2013 by the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse, in the United States, 8.7 million people among the ages of 12 and 20 reported drinking alcohol in the past month. So each of those potentially could have committed a crime, yet a few of those are considered an adult, but yet they can't. And many of you are aware that the drug of choice in the United States is going to be, of course, alcohol. And in a survey done in 2011, there are over 10.1 million to be exact, 10.1 million underage drinkers in the United States, consisting but not limited to 12th graders and 85% of college students that answer to admitting trying or consuming alcohol. And I believe that the states actually have the right to refuse or not recognize the National Minimum Drinking Age Act, or the NMDAA. And that was enacted in 1924. And if they do refuse to follow this rule, which sets the minimum drinking age to 21 federally. And when that law first came out, many states didn't follow it just because of tax reasons. They were going to lose quite a bit. So to combat this, the federal government implemented the federal funding for highways and roads. So if states choose not to follow this, they won't have any repercussions directly, so to say. They'll just be cut off from their federal funding. And if this happens, the states would have to find other ways to recuperate that money. And Texas was a state that didn't follow this act, that originally had a drinking age of 18, and they didn't change that until September 21st, 1986. And to combat that deficit, if a state chose not to follow it, I believe that the state there's a few options the state could do. They could increase the tax on alcohol. So that way it would come directly from the alcohol sales of selling it to adults of the legal age of 18. Or potentially increase a small income tax that may have a bit of a backlash, but would potentially pay for that. And lower the drinking age. With that, the crime rate has actually decreased in those states or those countries, like I mentioned before. The crime is significantly lower, and it may have a repercussion effect that of marijuana being legalized in Colorado. crime crime decreased a whopping 14% from legalizing marijuana and decriminalizing it. As such, I do believe the same effect will happen with lowering the drinking age. Adolescents will be exposed to alcohol more. They'll be more responsible. And you'll need less police officers writing arguably pointless citations, court summons for minor possession, minor consumption, having to drag their parents to court with the minor, missing days, a lot of ordeal that deal with that, which could potentially all be avoided. And whenever a student is learning to drive, to take a driver's test, you don't just hand them the keys and tell them go drive. You have education, you teach them how to do it responsibly, and if anything happens, they will be held liable. As such, we should follow the same principle of alcohol if we did lower the drinking age. If you lower it to 18, you can have an education system set up in either public or private school. Some private schools not wanting to follow it, of course. But if we did provide an education class, not only would the adolescents pre-adulthood at 18 be familiar with alcohol, exposed, see it, and know what potentially could happen instead of having to do it behind closed doors, unregulated, uncontrolled, and since they weren't exposed to it, then they go out and have an accident, have killed innocent victims that would all potentially be avoided